Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to, depending on wherever you may live or however you choose to read your clock this early morning, middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. The merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? So since starting this channel, I've had the opportunity to meet so many great people. And unfortunately, some of those people have been taken far too early. And this next person, this next interview that I'm going to share with you is one of those people. This person, instantly, her and I spoke, and it was like a long lost friend or family member. This person's heart was just pure. She was a researcher. She was a fighter. She fought for the truth. She and her daughters had an experience in the mountains of California. She proceeded to sue the state of California, and not for any monetary gain, for the truth. And then I knew her health. I actually talked to her 2 weeks before she passed away. And her health was not great. But it was so weird because when I first met her, she was very healthy. She was an amazing person, full of life, strong. And for like the 4 years that her and I formed the friendship, she proceeded to keep pushing the envelope and asking more questions like we all do. But I really think it was because of the lawsuit. There's been too many researchers and too many people, too many truth seekers who have been taken. Is it a coincidence? I don't believe so. I think it's more or less a way of, I hate saying it, but, I think the government sees people who are a problem for them in their narrative, and they silence them. Anyway, this is an interview with a good friend of mine, and I do miss her dearly. Claudia, how are you?
I'm good, and I want to say thank you so much to everybody who's taking your time to listen to my story. And I hope that we can come to a conclusion of helping each other out with this crazy Bigfoot Dogman world, right, Jeff?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was talking to Claudia, and she's going to continue her lawsuit. And I said, listen, if there's ever a time that you need a petition signed, that I will put it on my channel, and I'm sure that all of my faithful family here will sign it. So
thank you.
But
that means a lot.
Yeah,
and I'll pick you up on that for sure.
Whatever I can do for you, honestly. So
thank you.
Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the floor, and you can share with everybody And
Okay.
so,
thank you so much.
Yep.
I'm going to dance around your floor then. So,
right.
well, I want to say thank you to everybody for, again, listening to my story. And I have one goal here, and it's to help others. That's all I want. I'm a mom, and just an average. I worked in a hospital for 17 years. I'm in the medical profession. When you grow up, you want to be a doctor, or a nurse, or a veterinarian, whatever. But you don't ever, like, when you're growing up, you don't say, I want to be a Bigfoot researcher or whatever. I never wanted this, and I didn't ask for this, but God brought it to my attention for sure. And I believe that my sighting was for a reason and a purpose. And my purpose is to help others and warn others that these things are out there and they can be very, very dangerous. I'm glad that some people have had great encounters, and this is, of course, just my advice and my experiences, what I've been through, which means nothing. It's just I'm just another person. I'll start telling you what happened. Like 1997, I just graduated from high school. I had some roommates. We went to Yosemite National Park and we hiked up Upper Falls. There's a Lower Falls and an Upper Falls, and what happened was we were the only dummies that were out there. People would climb up that mountain and then take pictures and then go back down. They never spent the night, but we brought our tents and everything, hoping to stay a couple nights up there. Well, the first night we put our tent up, and unfortunately we heard the worst growl ever. It literally sent shivers down our spine. And what happened was I was with my roommates, and we all woke up from that growl. And what happened was we unzipped the tent, and we see something bipedal walking into the wood line. So we were like, what the fuck was that? We didn't know what it was, but we were terrified. And back then there was no cell phones, and we were inexperienced, no weapons. And we were thinking, was it a bear? What was it? So for many, many years, I had that in my head, like, what was it that we saw? So a friend of mine brought up the attention, like, what was the scariest moment in your life? And I said, well, like, actually, in 1997, we went to Yosemite, what I just told you guys. And it was pretty traumatic. And she's like, well, was it a Bigfoot? And I literally, like, chuckled. I'm like, what? Like, what? And she's like, yeah, research it. So I did. So I started getting to learn about the whole Bigfoot world, and didn't have a Facebook account at the time. So what I did is I became friends with a woman named Barbara, and she has a YouTube channel called Barb and Gabby. And we started chatting through YouTube, and she invited me to come to her area, and she said, I would love to have you. So I went up there with my ex-husband, and I went there not to think I'm going to see one. I went there to learn about the species. I wanted to know, everything about them. But I told Barbara, I don't want you to show me old prints. I want to find my own evidence, because I need this for myself to know if they're real or not. So we went up there, and it was a great, great time. Hospitality was wonderful. And to make the long story longer, I mean, I experienced everything from rocks being thrown to screams at night to I found so many footprints that I casted. And the greatest thing that happened was we were hiking, and we were walking straight, and she stopped us, and she said, sometimes when I come up on this trail, my dog Gabby stops and stares in this direction. So we all went to that direction, to the left of the trail. Well, as we were like going up there, she started explaining there's a tree that's been like twisted, and you could see me on the camera, but I'm like looking, and that sense that something is watching you, that little voice that's telling you that. I start looking around, and sure enough, like 75 feet from me, there was a Sasquatch. He was about 5 feet tall. He was up on the tree holding with one hand. And as soon as we locked eyes, he jumped off the tree, ran bipedal 2 steps, and then went quadrupedal into the woods away from us. And at that moment, I was like, oh my God, they are real. Oh my God. And then she had it on video. The crazy thing about that video was that I saw this creature flesh and blood. I saw its hair. I saw its skin as it was running away from us, his big black almond eyes. And she, on her video, it looks cloaked, like you can't see it, like the predator. So that video is called the cloaked video. So that day totally changed my life, because, you go through life where at times you were insecure. Once I got older, I'm a mom now, I became more secure. And I thought to myself, life is so short. Like, there's so much that we don't even know about. And I want to make it the best that I can. so now I got really involved into the Sasquatch species, and I was in a very unhealthy marriage for 17 years, and I thought, you know what, this isn't right. I got divorced, not because of Bigfoot, but this brought my attention that life is short, and I want to learn more about them. It was a hobby, and he was against it, so I ended up divorcing him, and it was all for the better. I lost like 130 pounds, started hiking intensely, like in the rugged terrains of Oregon at night.
Not to cut you off really quick, but during that divorce, there was an interesting thing that happened at court. Can you share that with us? Because I was blown away when you shared that with me.
Yeah. So when I tell you more about my story, and I knew that this was going to happen, but when I had encounters with my daughter, my ex-husband took me to court. And even though he was with me when I had the sighting with Barb and Gabby, he took me to court to try to say that I'm a crazy, unfit mother. So what happened was he brought in an attorney. I didn't. I came alone to defend myself. And his attorney started with, Your Honor, Mrs. Ackley has this unusual hobby, which is Bigfoot with quotation marks. He put quotation marks up in the sky. And we think she's unfit. She needs mental help. She truly believes that these creatures exist. And like my mouth and my heart was beating, thinking, oh God, please don't let them tell me they're going to take my kids away. That was like terrifying for me. And the judge takes off her glasses and she looks at both of us. And here I'm about to vomit inside my mouth because I'm like, please God. And she looks at the both of them and she said, I saw last weekend a documentary on the Sasquatch species and I believe in them. So are you calling me unfit and crazy? So I thought that was great,
Yeah.
and at that point I felt like God's hand on my shoulder saying, I got you. It was a great moment in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost like thank you for the support. So after I had the Barb and Gabby, for 6 years, I was just researching, getting to know people, got a Facebook account. Of course, being a mom, that's my number one goal, is being a mother. I'm so blessed to have two beautiful girls that are healthy and happy. And what happened was we moved to the mountains in Los Angeles. It's very expensive, and it's a lot cheaper to live up in the mountains than in the city. So I found a house for us to live in, and we moved next to a trail. And I told my daughters after school one day, they finished their homework, and I said, do you guys want to go on a hike? I don't want them on their cell phones constantly on TikTok or whatever. And they said, yeah, that would be fun. And I just got off work. I had my hospice shoes on. I work with hospice patients. And I said, okay, but it's 6:30 at night. We have to kind of hurry because it's getting dark. And we don't want to be up in the woods in the dark. So they were excited. So on the way there, it's about a 2-minute drive in my car. I told my daughters, okay, you guys are not experienced hikers. If you see a bear, you don't run from it. Cougars get you from the front, back. They can jump off a tree. They're very sneaky and quiet. Always watch your surroundings and never, ever show fear to anything, ever. And I said, if I tell you guys to hold hands, run, and don't look back, you need to listen. And they were rolling their eyes at that point, saying, oh, my gosh, Mom. So what happened was we started walking on the trail. Now, I just brought my cell phone and bear spray. And here, I usually go into the woods with my boots and I'm prepared. But I was just going to take a small little walk with them in the woods, just a simple hike. And the first thing that we started noticing is there was this huge tree that's been blocked. So we have to walk around the tree. Then about 200 feet from there, there's another tree that's blocking the trail. So now there's 2 trees blocking the trail, all within 200 feet from each other. So at this point, we were walking and there's a curve. Well, my youngest daughter was in the front. My teenage daughter was in the middle and I was in the back. I'm in the back for obvious reasons to watch out for them. And I see my daughter, the youngest, her name is Jenna. She was bouncing, singing. She walks around the tree, the 3rd tree now that's been blocking the trail. So I'm telling you this because they give us signs that we just totally ignore. So I see her now at this point. She stops very quickly, puts her hands down, and just stares straight, doesn't move. And at this moment, I'm actually taking a picture of my teenage daughter who's posing for the picture. And I notice my daughter, her demeanor. So I'm watching my teenage daughter now, and now she turns the corner and now she's frozen. So as a mom, mama bears, you don't want to mess with mama bears. I knew something was bad and something was wrong. So what I did is I run as fast as I can in front of them, about 20 feet. And to my disbelief, there was a Sasquatch right there. And I was like, no, this isn't really happening. And there's so many things that go through your mind. Those of you who have not ever seen one, like there's just all these thoughts that race through your mind, like, oh my God, his skin is gray. Oh my God, that are just like zooming through your head. And what happened was I was in so much shock saying, no, this is not really happening. So I started walking up towards them, and in my head, something said, don't get any closer. So I stopped. So at this point, I'm in front of my daughters, and I'm looking at the creature, and I'm staring at him straight. He looks at me, and then he looks at my kids. And then I don't like the way he looked at my daughters. And they're, 14 and 11. So when I saw him looking at my daughters, I whooped at him. And I was telling him two things. One, as I know about your kind, and two was don't look at my children, look at me. So now I know that I'm not going to win, of course, with the Sasquatch in me, but he'll know I was there if he tried to hurt my children. He will know I was there. So I told my daughters, do not run, listen to me, hold hands and start walking back to the car. Turn around right now. So as they turn around, I'm still standing face to face with him, not letting my guard down. I'm not showing fear. I even actually put my hands up in the air and I said, I come in peace. But I had my bear spray in my hand ready to go. So we go back to the car, and my youngest daughter, she like Peter Pan's because it's such a traumatic moment when you're told all your life that monsters aren't real. They are. So basically, I've been doing this now for like at that time for 6 years. So for me to have an encounter, and my boyfriend was at the house visiting us, and he was there. He didn't go on the walk with us. When we came back, he said, how was your walk? What's wrong? And I said, Ed, we ran into Sasquatch. And he started to laugh. And I said, no, like, I'm not kidding. And he's like, what? I said, they were huge, Ed. There was one big one. And he said, no, it must be. And my daughter interrupts us, and she says, like, I videotaped it like twice. And I'm like shocked. I felt like somebody slapped me in the face because I had no idea at this point that she videotaped behind me. I'm wearing the red shirt, if you guys see the video. So he says, send me the video. And so he gets on his laptop. And sure enough, he's like, well, there's definitely a man, and he's definitely looking at you. And I said, no, Ed, he was like 1,000-pound man with hair all over. And then my daughter tells me that there was two of them that ran right next to her. She said one was a bigger one that was looking at her, giving her a dirty look. As it was running forward, it was looking at her to the right. And I think to myself, like, when I run, I have to look at every step I take so I don't trip or fall over something. These things are so stealthy that they just run without even looking at where they're stepping. So she said the one behind it was a lot younger, like a younger one. It was like the mother, younger. And she said that it ran behind the big guy, the alpha male. So I had no inclination that there was three of them at that time that showed themselves. I was just aware of the one. So what happened was I called the fishing game after so I took Ed the next day and I said, look, Ed, he was 30 feet up on a tree. And Ed's like, there's no way a human can climb this tree. And he saw the V, the creature's, you can see his head. There's a V on the tree, the wood, and you can see his head in between the V. So basically, I called a fishing game because I was thinking to myself, as a mother, as a human being, if I was walking out of that trail that day with my daughters and I saw a young family with children, I'm going to say, don't go out there. There's Bigfoot. They're going to say she's fucking whacked. She's crazy. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to change things. I want people to be aware and have a choice to go out there knowing what's really out there. There's a lot more than just Sasquatch. There's also the Dogman, as you know, Jeff. But I called a fishing game and I called, and at first you don't know who to call. Do you call 911? Do you call the Forest Service? Do you call fishing game? So I just called the dispatch and I said, non-emergency number. This was like a week later. And I said, hi, I'd like to report a Sasquatch. And it's quiet on the phone. It's like, you want to report a Sasquatch? I said, yes. And she said, okay, well, I don't know who to contact. I said, neither do I. So I said, look, like I need to tell someone because the public's in danger around here. So she said, okay, answer your phone. Somebody will be calling you within the next 5 minutes or so. Sure enough, the Forest Service called me right away. That phone was right away. And she called me. She said, so you had a sighting of a Sasquatch? I said, I sure did. And I said, I have it on video. I've got a cast. It was 22 inches, 5 toes. And I said, my daughters and I, we encountered them. And there was 3 of them. And I'm afraid for the public. So she comes, she gets my address. And she comes, she looks at my cell phone. I'm showing her my daughter's video that she took. And she pointed out, is that him? Yes, that's him.
Really
So
quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just remember where you are. This is for the subscribers that are listening.
Okay.
If you want to see the video or the pictures she's discussing right now, if you Google Claudia Ackley, California sighting or suing California, the news article will come up, and the pictures are in there and the video as well. So, all right, I just needed to put that in. Sorry.
No, perfect. Thank you for doing that. So she comes and she said to me, that was interesting. She said, my supervisor's on the other end. He wants to be here, but he can't. So I'm going to call him and let him know what you're telling me. And I thought that was interesting. So sure enough, like she watched the video over and over and over again. She messages her supervisor, and we're all sitting there waiting for his response. She looks at me and she looks at her cell phone and she takes a sigh. And she looks at me and she says, you saw a bear. I said, no, honey, I did not see a bear. I know what bears look like. It was not a bear. And she said, well, maybe it was like a cinnamon bear. No, it was not a cinnamon. We went back and forth. And I felt completely stupid and like an idiot. Like, how dare you? Like, I'm telling you everything. I'm passionate of what I'm telling you. I've interviewed my children. So she started telling me, well, you know, a gorilla or no, a orangutan escaped from the Big Bear Zoo a couple years ago. Maybe you saw the orangutan. I said, no, it wasn't the orangutan. There was 3 of them. They were huge and they were bipedal. At least 2 of them were. So her and I were going back and forth, but I'm being very respectful, but to the point. And I said, let me ask you now a question. And she goes, okay. And she goes, I said, has anybody ever reported a Sasquatch around here? And she said, no. So I'm thinking, okay, within the 5 minutes that you got to my house, you researched that? You answered that quickly? That's interesting. Second question I'd like to ask you, is that anybody ever been hurt in that trail? She said, yes. Oh, I'm like, what happened there? She said that a scout group came and camped out there, and they were doing their badge thing, and they were told not to bring food in the tent. A little boy brought food in his tent, and a bear attacked him. This is what she said to me. Very, 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 very bad. It was a bear that got inside of his tent and took his food and hurt him really bad. And I looked at her, I'm like, was it a bear? Was it? And she kind of like, you know, and I said, you know, I understand that we all have bills to pay. We have to feed our families. But ethically and morally, what you do to people is wrong. It's really wrong. It's already hard enough to make this phone call. And then when you come out here and make me feel stupid, telling me we saw a bear, I said, no, it's wrong. And she didn't even offer to go and like check out the area. Nothing, just nothing. Like it was a waste of a call for her. Right. So at that point, I was really devastated. I was like, oh my God, like this is wrong, you know, and here I'm a mom. And let me just tell you guys, when that is happening to you guys and your innocence, well, for children, their innocence got taken away. My daughter's innocence that day was taken from them. And that's not right. Because my daughter later came and told me, my little one, Mom, you lied to me. And I said, what did I lie to you about? She said, you told me monsters aren't real, but they are. And I'm like, I don't know. How do you answer that to your child? Well, I know, honey, but you know what I mean? Like, well, how do you answer that? So my daughters at this point want nothing to do with the woods ever, ever again. So, and financially, it was hard because I had to finally move out of there, the mountains, because they couldn't handle living in the mountains. So I got so upset. I was depressed for like a week. I'm human. I cry. I get mad. I laugh. I get happy. And I was listening to Wes on Sasquatch Chronicles, and a man named Todd Standing, I heard his interview, how he's suing the government for Canada for acknowledging the species. So he was so like passionate that I'm like, we've been friends for a while on Facebook. So Todd Standing did a documentary on Netflix called Discovering Bigfoot. So I messaged him. We've been friends for a couple years. I saw like the Les Stroud and him going out to the woods, but I never really talked to him. But I messaged him. I said, look, like, I'm a mom. I had a sighting with my daughter. She videotaped it. I called the fishing game. They laughed at me, and I don't want to be laughed at. I want to help people. And right away he called me. He's like, what can I do to help you? And I'm like, well, we were able to talk. And he's like, I'll help you. I'll fly down to you. He's from Canada. On his own dime, he came. His wife was pregnant, a high-risk pregnancy. He left everything to come and help me file in the state of California. Now, a lot of the Bigfoot world, we all know it's not great. A lot. People fight and, oh, he's a hoaxer and he's a liar and he's this. Well, let me tell you guys, I'm very loyal to the people that are good to me. And I'm not going to make judgment of Todd Standing's videos because I wasn't there. And but I could say one thing about Todd is that he spent his own dime coming to help me file in court. And I asked him questions like, okay, like in court, how does this work? How does that work? He was able to educate me on what to do. And he came with me and we filed together. We were a team, you know, and so because I've got a lot of criticism, Jeff, of me bringing Todd Standing into this whole thing.
Oh, I'm sure. Believe me, I'm
yeah.
I got my own hate group too, so.
And that's fine with me. I want to just continue with my goal, you know. But so I filed in court and I got a court date, which was set for like March something, and Todd went back home, and sure enough, like I started getting a lot of phone calls from the New York Post, and like this man called me from the New York Post, and he says to me like, I'd like to interview you, and he's like, do you have DNA? And I said, I do. And he's like, what is it? I need to have a copy of it. And I said, no, it's not even here at my house, to be honest with you. I'm not that dumb. So later I found out that he wasn't even a New York Post because the New York Post called me like a couple days later, really being the New York Post. So at that point, that was an eye opener that people are trying to get me. And they were. I was followed by the government. Many times they would come and they would follow me very close. Now I live in the woods. So when I would leave and you go down the mountain, there's no railing. You can be pushed off pretty easy off the mountain. And I'm not stupid. People want me to shut up, and I'm not going to. I'm going to continue doing what I need to do to protect people. And people think, well, you don't need, what are you going to, I'm like, I want to try at least to do something with the government because the fishing game's mission statement is to protect the fish and the game. So why should they continue to lie to us? They're not doing their job. That's their job. So basically, I got an attorney, and he called Todd Standing. He said, look, like, I want to take her case. His name is Bobby Garcia. I'm from Texas, but I will get permission to go and represent her in the state of California. I'm a huge enthusiast. I want to do this. I have 200 employees that work under me. And so he sounded really optimistic. And I was like, oh, and I go, Todd, why hasn't he called me? I'm the one that's filing, not you. So basically, Todd's like, well, I guess he feels moralistically if he talks to you, then he has to take your case. But he wants to get some information about us first, which I thought was very bad. And I said, don't send him any information. As far as DNA or anything, don't send him anything. So after he told Todd, look, if she goes into court with what she has right now, I had to go to court and write, to file everything of why I'm suing. Just to let you guys know, I'm not suing for a dime. I don't want a cent. And I'm not suing to be famous because you look like a nut to 98% of the public. So why am I doing this? I'm doing this to help others. So they are optional to go out there in the woods knowing that there's bears, mountain lions, Sasquatch, Dogman, not just bears and mountain lions that can harm you. So what happened, Bobby Garcia told Todd she needs to stop the case. If she doesn't, I can't represent her. So what I did is I stopped the case until it's pending right now. It's without prejudice, which means that I just stopped it for now. And it was actually better because now I have so much more evidence. As Jeff, that I've sent you the pictures of what I've gotten, on my camera. I have security cameras around my house. And that's where the creatures, we live close to our encounter, and that's where they were at. That's their home. So to make my long story longer, I forgot where I was at. But I stopped the case, and I told Todd, so now what? he's like, well, Bobby's going to be contacting you. He needs permission to represent you in the state of California. And then he has to actually have an office for me to come in the state of California. It's not just like him signing the piece of paper. It's kind of, and so finally Bobby calls me. He's like, thank you for stopping this court case. Thank you. I would love to represent you. I'd like to ask you some questions. And I was so grateful and I was so thankful to him. And I was like, thank you. And he was going to do it for free. So I started talking to him and he said, look, Claudia, I will represent you, but you have to remember something. The legal world does turn, but it turns very slowly. But you have to be patient. Please be patient. We'll get this done. We have to get all the evidence and everything together. And I'm like, okay. You know, you're my attorney. Okay. So like months would go by. I didn't hear from him. Months. So I would call his office. Can I speak with Mr. Garcia? Okay. Left 20 messages. Nothing. So I found out. I said, I want a copy of him because I was told by his secretary that he put in a request to have me, like, permission for him to represent me from Texas to California. I said, can I have a copy of that? And they never sent me any copy. So basically what it was is that he was lying. He didn't want me to go to court or whatever. I don't know if he works for the government. I don't know. But he is a true attorney in Texas. I found that out. So, but it's okay because it just gave me more time to research because what he did was he's like, if she goes into court, she's going to be laughed at and they're just going to close the case. But there's a part of me that I feel that even if I don't win, which it's going to be very hard to win a court case without a body. I get that. I'm not stupid. But if I go in there and I say, look, there's thousands. If I have like, you know, a petition, Jeff, like we were talking, I've got pictures, I've got DNA. Well, we can get a body, but what is it that if I, like I was telling you, Jeff, if I murdered someone in front of 50,000 people saw me murder someone, and I went to court and every 50,000 people went to testify, they would find me guilty of murder. Oh, yeah. So why is this different? It's not different. So it's time that someone does something. So even if I don't win, maybe in 10 years, 5 years, 100 years, somebody will go to court about the same thing and say, look, she tried this, let's try this. You know, we're screaming here as an American citizen. Please help us, government. Please. There's a lot of us that are suffering right now. Please help us. And they're like, shh, cricket. You know, it's not okay. So I got it. Let me just tell you guys, it's been hell. Like the last 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, whatever it's been. With my ex-husband for like a year going back to court. We were fighting about, like, he was trying to take out spousal support. Well, she could afford to file a lawsuit in California, and she doesn't need spousal support. It's all that. I was married 20 years, you know. I didn't get my education because I put my ex-husband through his education. So I had to go every month to court and to prove that I'm not an unfit mother. And my daughters were interviewed and everything. It was really intense. And the weird thing is that the judge wanted to talk to the girls herself in her chambers. And that's very unusual for a judge to talk to the child. Usually they send them to the counseling department or whatever. But I thought that was very interesting. But I've had people following me. I've had my ex-husband taking me to court. A lot of people calling me, telling me that they're people that they're really not. And I'm really careful now of what happens. And just so you guys know, we are going to file a lawsuit back again in California. And this time I have mountains of evidence. I've got Bob Gimlin, who's going to testify for me. We have Jeff Meldrum, Dr. Meldrum. He's going to go in there with, what he knows about the Sasquatch species. I'm going to have witnesses from the state of California who've had like face-to-face encounters with the Dogman and the Sasquatch species. And to explain to the courts, this is why we're doing this. Do you see us suffering? Many of us are suffering from this, and it's not okay. And how many more people have to go? The government doesn't care about who goes missing. They don't care. Because I believe that the governments, what they cannot control, they will not acknowledge. Yes. And I believe firmly. Yep. So people wonder, why doesn't government say anything? Well, because they can't control it. Why would they acknowledge something they can't control? Was it money? Probably, too. I don't know. So I don't have the answers for that. But basically, now fast forward to my encounter was 2017. Now we're at 21, right? A couple of days. Yep. So let me just tell you guys, I have to be very careful with what I say, but I first felt that these things were animalistic, but the intelligence of these things are absolutely mind-blowing. I'm not ashamed to say that I've seen those. People talk about their sightings with these lights that are like flashlights that fly around the woods. What are they? I've seen them myself, and they're always with areas of population of sightings of Bigfoot or Dogman. Are they related? I feel they are, but I nobody knows. But for some reason, when people would say to me, they know where they'll follow your scent, they'll follow you home. They do. And I have to say, I have pictures of one trying to get into my house, and Jeff has the picture. It's trying to get into my dining room, and I got very clear pictures of them, and one inside my house that broke into my house 2 years ago on Thanksgiving, which was completely traumatizing for me. For those of you who say, well, they're not aggressive and they're not this, that's great for you guys. But for us that have had horrible experiences or feel as a parent that we have the right to go out to the woods knowing what's out there, that's great. But let us do our thing too, And so I can't say too much about my experiences, but I've seen the Dogman and I've had the encounters with them. I've had the Sasquatch encounters. There's many Sasquatches. I found 12 structures behind my house. They were huge. They got burnt trees. That whole area, there's no burnt trees, but there's this huge log that's been burnt that they made into an X. Really, it's very strange. Yeah. All the stuff that I've encountered,
There was there was something you were talking to me about, and I thought it was interesting about the when you called the police officers.
Oh yeah.
And they were talking about the tracks. Can you share that?
Yeah. Okay. So, I have to tell you something important. So, when we first moved up there, once we had the encounter, my daughters and I, they started trying to get into the house, and I'm freaking out, thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is not happening." So I called 911, and I'm like, "Please help me! There's intruders trying to break into my house." So sure enough, they would come, and sure enough, they would disappear. They would go away or whatever. So the police got there and they're looking around the woods and they're like, no, we don't see anything. Well, then I was I was standing around the corner from my house and they were looking in the woods and I had dirt down there. And then I hear one of the police officers go Joe, oh my God, look at this print. And he's like, shh, she's right over there. Shh. And I'm like, you don't have to shush. Cricket. I know they're out there. There's no you don't have to be bullshit. Let's just try to find them. We all know that they exist. Let's not try to. And they were looking at all the prints that were on the ground, acknowledging them. So then I called them I think it was 2 times. The creatures were trying to break into my house. So basically, the 3rd time was Thanksgiving. I think it was 3 or 4 times that I called them. I don't remember, but there were intense times that I called. I don't just call 911 because one walked by the window. It wasn't like that at all. But they were, and I know they can if they want to break in. They could break a wall down if they want to. I get it. But they were trying to make us be afraid, and it worked, But when they did break into the house on Thanksgiving Day, and I called 911, I swear to you, this is what she says to me: "You call 911 too much. I'm sorry, the weather's too bad. We can't send anybody to help you just yet. I hope you feel better." Click. This is a 911 phone call that I'm going to get a copy of. Wow. So they didn't send help for me. Well, 4 days later, I'm in the intensive care unit. And that's all I have to say about that. But blood all over the house. The paramedics come finally 4 days later, and they see the blood, and they're like, "Why did you wait so long to call us?" And I said, "I didn't. I called you guys." But she said, "I called 911 too much." And he was like, "Oh, that is so, so wrong." And then the fire department, the fire truck, it was first the paramedics and then the fire truck comes behind it. And I can hear him go, "Captain." And let me tell you what she just told me right now. And I heard them talking as they were loading me onto the ambulance. But I was in the intensive care for about a week, just very sick from the creatures. So those of you who tell me that they won't hurt you, don't tell me that. Because I could show you pictures that I've even showed Jeff and me in the ICU. It's not fun at all. So.
Yeah, it's definitely not. And, to me, you're very courageous. And
Thank you.
when I shared, excuse me, when I shared the news article that I had read, and in the comment section, there was just so many people supporting, and being supportive of you, because
Very blessed.
you're not suing for anything other than the truth, to where if you were a hoaxer or a fraud, you would be like, well, I want them to admit, and I want a new home, and I want to have this. But
about money at all.
And you really have kind of paved a new road for people, because you're taking down the detour signs right now as you go. And
I hope
you've got my backing, and you've got
thank you.
Hopefully everybody that listens to my channel's backing as well.
I want to tell you guys something that's so important. A lot of people are different. Some people don't want to talk about things, and that's okay. It's all about people. But for those of you who tell a story about their encounter and you get laughed at, fuck them. They're not your friends, from number one. And the second thing is, be confident into what you believe, what you saw. Don't be afraid of what people think. Because if you had let's say you haven't had one. Another thing I wanted to say is, if you guys have not seen one, but you want to, I promise you would regret it. So if you're out there looking for it, I know people are dying to see it. It's not going to stop people from going into the woods, what I'm saying. But if I had a chance, maybe not, because I want people to live. Maybe I'm I don't know. I'm glad this happened to me, because I want to help people. But for those of you who aren't going to file a lawsuit or whatever, please think twice before you knock on something's door, because you might not know who's going to answer the door. Right. And it might not be beautiful and nice. You know what I mean? Big teddy bear hug at all.
Yeah.
But another thing too is as people being judgmental. This is just a little I thought of this scenario, the lady who sued McDonald's because she got burnt from coffee. You remember that story?
Yeah.
Have you heard that story? So people were like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe she sued McDonald's for $1 billion and because she got burnt because coffee's hot?" Oh my gosh. Well, they don't know her side of the story. Her side of the story is she was elderly. She ordered her coffee, but the coffee pot was broken. And don't quote me on the exact whatever it is, but the coffee machine was broken where it overheated 6 times what it's supposed to, or whatever, 7 times. So when they handed her the cup, she put it between her legs because she drives a stick shift car. The coffee melted the cup and burnt her so bad that she got 3rd-degree burns. That's why she sued the McDonald's to get the plastic surgery and stuff, all that stuff that she needed to get done. But people judge just by hearing one thing. Oh, she's suing because Bigfoot. They don't even know my whole side of the story. They don't see my daughters at night. I'm next to their bed holding their hand, telling them that they're not going to get eaten. Right. You guys don't see those things. You know what I mean? So be very careful when you guys make judgment of others. And I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying those bad few apples out there.
Yeah.
That I don't waste my time or energy with at all.
Yep.
So
how are your daughters now with the outside? How are they more accepting, or
they don't want to talk about it at all? They
them.
never want to go into the woods ever again, ever. And but now they've grown up to be healthy girls. My oldest daughter, she's an adult now. She's 18, and my 15-year-old, and they're happy kids, but they want the city. They're like, no. And they don't want me talking about Bigfoot. My daughter one day came crying to me and she said, "Mom, they're so bad. Please stop. Please stop." And see, at the beginning of all this, I said, would you guys be okay with me filing a lawsuit so we can help other people? Because if it's going to be too hard for you, for school, people making fun of you, I won't do it. You guys are my number one priority, but I want to know. I said, "Oh no, sue. Yeah, And now that they've gotten older, they were like, "Mom, it's please stop." And I'm like, "No, I can't. It's something that God has given me. It's a mission to help other people." I'm also starting a national PTSD group throughout the United States, and it's going to be free to the public. What I'm doing is I'm picking one person from each state, and that person's responsible to pick cities, so they can go to a quotation mark AA meeting, so people can go and experience and talk about their experiences without feeling the ridicule, the judgment, or, you know, just support.
Yeah.
And people are not allowed to throw their opinions or whatever. You know how the Bigfoot community can be yucky. So that's my second goal, as far as the lawsuit and the PTSD groups. And it's going to be free to the public. You don't have to bring a cent. Just bring yourself. And for those of you who have had great encounters and you know that the meetings are going to be coming up, please go and support other people that have had bad encounters, because we're all in this together.
Yeah.
So I believe that's helping each other.
The majority of people that are here on my channel are supportive. Like, I honestly encourage, especially one of the big reasons why I wanted you on is because so many men are apt to share their encounter because, you know, it's the manly thing to do. And, you know, but a lot of women have encounters and just bottle it up. And, you know, I have a subscriber who has been with my channel forever. And she was not the first, but one of the first to share her Bigfoot encounter. And, you know, her name is Jane. And I use Jane when I speak to other females. I say, listen, you know, like, remember her encounter and how she shared it and all the support that she got. I'm like, you'll get that support. We got a very supportive community here. So, you know, what you're doing is great.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And for those of you who are negative, she's not going to win. You know what? It doesn't matter. It's already a win-win situation. Just because even if I don't win, it's going to open people's eyes. So let's say that somebody laughs at me and they hear my story, and then they go camping the next summer and they have an encounter with one. They'll go, oh my God, she's right. Let's do something about it. Let's change. Because, you know, like, the whole Bigfoot topic is becoming really popular.
Yeah.
People are really like, you know what I noticed too, Jeff, is when I went to Oregon and stuff and I would talk about an encounter, somebody would say, oh, where did you have yours? But, like, if you go to different states, like Southern California, where I'm from, they'll say, what kind of mental hospital did you just get out of?
Right.
What medication are you on? You know, it's all different. Region has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, it's an environmental more acceptance with the environment, you know.
Yeah, but I don't believe that these things. Now, like, if I talk a little bit about the species itself, they're extremely. And this is my opinion, of course, which means nothing. My experiences, I've seen them super intelligent. I've actually seen, like, two of them kind of back and forth to each other, talking to each other. They have their own language. I feel in my heart, and I've seen it for myself, they have abilities that we can't understand. And that's all I have to say about that. It's just, they have many abilities that we just cannot understand. Yeah. And maybe I was thinking, maybe that's why the government's hiding. I don't know, you know, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it numerous times, and I've had subscribers that, you know, have had the encounters where it's there 1 second and gone the next, and, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah, we have this community is good. I mean, and it's not me, it's the people that are here, you know, that are more accepting and more just willing to share what they've seen. It's just, it's great. You know, I really am happy how my community has just grown, and the people here are really made it. I mean,
you've made it, and I want to be on behalf of all of us. We want to say thank you to you, because without you opening your channel, we don't have this place to go to talk about our stories. So please give yourself a hug and a pat on the back, because you're so great to talk to. You're easy. You're non-judgmental. You're fun. It's like, we want to say thank you to you, Jeff, for your hard time and work and effort, because you've made a difference, even in my life, in the last week that I've gotten to know you.
Yeah,
thank you for that. You know?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I really do. One really cool thing I'm trying to figure out how to share some of the pictures that you shared with me, and I'll figure it out by the end of the video. But there's one picture that I was blown away with, because you and I'm stoked about this because you met Josh Gates, and it's
Yeah.
amazing. Can you talk about how you met him? Just like a little bit of what you did with
Oh,
him or whatever.
yeah. During this lawsuit stuff, I had a lot of people calling me a lot. It was kind of crazy. And there was a person named, well, I can't say his name, but he contacted me. He's like, hi, like, I'm a producer. I'm like, okay, I'm a mom. And he's like, I would love to, can you show us and kind of explain to us? And I want to speak out, not for publicity, but for knowledge. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And I want people to be aware, even if they don't believe in it, just listen to it. So it's the first step, baby steps, and I said, okay, well, what show? He's like, well, we're kind of just putting the show together. We really don't have a name for a show. He wasn't really telling me much. And I'm like, well, send me your credentials. I want to see who you really are, because I'm not going to just take you out knowing, I don't even know. You could be working for the government and kill me. I have no idea who you are. So he sent me his credentials, and then we decided to meet. And sure enough, he calls me. He's like, we're lost. Like, can you help us out? So the mountains are kind of hard to find, the houses and stuff. So I said, okay. So I went, I found them, and I drove my car, and they were lost. And I get out of the car, and there was like 7 cars. And I'm like, wait, I only invited like you and another person. Like, who is all these people? So I turn around, and this guy gets out of the car, and he looks so familiar. And he like checks out his hand. He goes, hi, I'm Josh. I'm Josh. And I start laughing. I'm like, Josh Gates. Oh my gosh. Like, I had no idea that you were the one that's wanting to see where everything happened and wants my story. And I said, thank you so much. It's so an honor to meet you. But let me tell you guys, he is so nice, and he is so fun. Like, he is on camera. He's like that in real life. Just,
Yeah. And you've met Mr. Gilman? Yeah, I mean, you've met the amount of people that you have met in the community is amazing. Like, I'll share if I can,
yeah,
the picture of Josh with you, and then Mr. Gilman is.
I love him to death.
I mean, there he is with his cowboy hat on, and there you are, and it's just holy cow! It's the holy grail of pictures, like he's, and he's even gotten ridicule in
absolutely,
and people are saying, up until, I mean, God, that movie, the video was 40-something, 50 years ago, and they're still calling it a hoax.
I know, it's crazy. And if you him, you could see how genuine he is. Just like, oh, Claudia. I mean, that day was like if it happened yesterday. He's like, oh, Claudia, if you saw how scared I was, like shaking. Like, when he says things like that, you know what I mean. It's just, you could just feel his vibes that he saw what he saw, and there's no doubt in my mind at all. And he's so kind and loving and open, and he went through hell like for years.
Yeah.
So he kept saying, Claudia, you're going to go through hell, but you'll make out one day. It's going to be all better for all of us.
The persecution back then was just, I mean, the persecution now is nothing to where it was in the 70s,
I know.
And, oh my goodness, I could not imagine the hell of going through that, because it, like you said, it's more accepted now. There's Dogman communities, there's Sasquatch communities, there's reptilian communities, and it's people want the truth, and it's accepted. And back then there was nothing,
Right. Well, we pay our taxes. We deserve the truth. We have the right to know what's out there to protect our own kind. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Or it's like, that's so wrong.
Absolutely.
To me, that's like, I don't know.
Especially as parents, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure that if my parents, when I was a Boy Scout, and they sent me into the heart of the Adirondacks, where there's not a house for 100 miles, if they had any idea that these things were out there, I wouldn't have been going out in the woods. Like, it's
I would recommend for everybody, and I'm sure you guys that are hunters are like, don't go by yourself, please. And also, if you moms go out there with your children, don't turn for a second. It just takes a second with your children, a second. Absolutely. Please watch your babies close in the woods. So
absolutely. Now
it's easy to get distracted when you're on vacation and barbecuing, and it's easy to get distracted. So
yeah.
But a lot of missing people, and they're going where it's bad. It's just really bad. There is a picture that I sent Jeff of me walking towards a dogman that's standing there, and I start to float up in the air.
That's what I wanted to bring that up. Can you talk about that? I know there's certain things that you can and can't talk about, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I have video footage of it and stuff. So I have security cameras around my house, and I have a shed that's 12 feet tall. Now, this shed it's pretty big, and what happened was I saw the dogman standing on the corner of the shed. So what I did is I start walking up to it, rebuking it in the name of Jesus Christ. And I don't recommend anybody to ever do that. Don't ever do stupid things like I've done. But what happened was I got attacked by something. I don't even know what it is, some creature. And then as I get closer to the dogman, I start to float. You could actually see my feet up in the air. This is also on security footage. It's not my camera. I can't hoax it. It's on my security footage. And for some reason, I turned white. Like, I had colorful clothing on. And right before that, I did that. You could see me on the video with my colorful clothes. But the moment I start walking in, which I believe is a portal that opens up and closes. And I believe in my heart, in my opinion only, that when people go into a port, you don't see it with your naked eye. Once you're in it and they decide to close it, you go with them. Once they're done having fun with you, they dump you off near a water or a tree. And that's why I feel that the search and rescue dogs walk around in circles, because that's where you were last smelled, and that's where you basically left when the portal closes. So I can't explain it. I don't know. Nobody's an expert. I don't know.
Yeah,
so, He'll share those pictures with you guys so you can see it as well.
Yeah, I'm going to figure out the best way to do it. And like I said to you, I'll put it in the outro of how to do it. I'm debating on putting it on my channel's Facebook or doing just a community post. But
if you can write a comment, you can help Jeff out. That'd be great. What you guys think would be easier? If you guys want pictures.
I think I'll do it on. I think it'll be easiest for the community post. That way they don't have to leave YouTube. They can just go over to it and see it from there.
Okay.
But there was someone I was speaking to just recently, and we were talking about these portals, and they they lead somewhere, but they're almost like a hallway. You know what I mean? And
yes.
This person, they brought up a very interesting topic, because not only does the Sasquatch or the Dogman or whatever use them, but there's other things in those portals that are hunting. And they're not hunting us, they're hunting what's coming out of those, like Sasquatch and that thing and other things. So there's things worse than what we have here in there,
Right.
And I was just like, when he said, what do you mean there's things hunting Sasquatch in there? And he's like, holy shit, I mean, just...
Yeah.
And it's dimensions, because we just don't know. We don't know. Skinwalker Ranch is a perfect example.
I met the family there that lives on the ranch right now.
Oh, really?
And it's such a creepy place, you guys. It's so crazy there. We went there. We spent the day there. And then we went home. We started driving, got in the car, regular car, okay? We started driving away, and we hear a bird chirping inside the car. We're like, is there birds? We pulled over, checked to see if there was birds stuck in the car. Windows were rolled up, of course. And we can't explain it. It's just crazy stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
and I told Skinwalker people, please be careful. Don't be alone. Especially the woman. Don't be alone.
Yeah.
Don't be careful.
It's Sasquatch, too. I mean, there's...
Dogman, Sasquatch there.
Yeah.
But I also believe, I was questioning myself, I've got the DNA, but still doesn't answer the question. Is this alien-oriented? Are these ground crews for the Earth? They're massively big. They're strong. They could see us very easily, but we can't see them. So are they created by the aliens to be the ground Earth? Because a little gray that's 4 feet isn't going to do well in the woods, right?
Right.
Or is it Nephilim? Now, I've been face-to-face where I've rebuked the name of Jesus Christ, and it fled. And I'm thinking, if this was this alien, why would it flee from rebuking it? So now I'm kind of drawn to Nephilim, type thing? Is it Nephilim? Is it so many questions but not enough answers?
There's a lot of theory that agrees with you on that. I mean, there's literally, if you stick around the channel for a while and you read the comment section, you will see there's a lot of people that listen to the channel that are convinced wholeheartedly that these things are biblical and they're coming, for a reason.
Yeah.
I just
all this has brought me so, like, I used to question about God. Like, honestly, I was like, there's so much suffering in the world. Like, is there God? Are you real or are you not? Now I'm like, oh, there is a God. Religious person, but this definitely opened my eyes and to have a relationship with Christ. Because when you see it, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, if I seen the devil, there has to be a God.
Yeah.
I tell myself,
Absolutely.
But my faith is strong. Keep your faith strong, you guys, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to talk to you for a little bit more, but we'll end the interview right now. Is there anything that you would like to end the interview with to everybody?
Thank you for taking your guys' time to listen to my story. It's all very nice to meet everybody. I'm going to start the PTSD group soon. I had some health issues right now, but I'm trying to overcome them. And I'm going to continue the court case. Just waiting to look for a great attorney to represent me. But I want to say thank you and lots of love. Be kind to everybody everywhere. And please give without expecting anything in return. Anyway, thank you guys so much. And it's so nice to meet you all.
Thank you. And when you start the PTS group, send me the link so I can put it on the channel. And if you ever need a petition signed, send me and I'll start it and we'll get that going for you too. Okay?
I appreciate that so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. God bless.
You too. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
And there you have it, folks. The last interview Claudia Ackley ever did was with me. An amazing person, an amazing friend. Just a really pure-hearted person. I cannot say enough about how of an amazing person she was. And when she passed, it was a real tragedy. And I did cry for a couple hours, actually, because her and I had some amazing conversations. And like I said, when I first met her, it was like a long lost friend or family member that she just welcomed me and, really, really was a kind soul. And you are missed, Claudia. With that, I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and honestly what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share it with the people you love and care about, and may just help save their lives someday. And until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.